Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak at your wonderful deity installation anniversary, 50-year anniversary. I saw pictures of your deities. Kandarpika sent them to me. They're really beautiful. And it's so inspiring to see that so many years later, there's still Krishna consciousness going on in South America, strong. And as most of you know, my husband, Gaurasundar, my late husband, Gaurasundar, was the GBC for South America, the very first GBC for South America, back in the early 70s. And he made a couple of trips there. I know of one with Siddha Sarup for sure, and there may have been another one. We were planning to move to South America to do preaching work, but circumstances changed, and he decided that he did not want to work in the political structure of ISKCON anymore. And so he resigned from the GBC, and Prabhupada refused to accept his resignation, but he eventually did, and he eventually did continue his service in different ways. He was working on the transliteration of Chaitanya Charitamrita when we were traveling with Srila Prabhupada in all of 1968. Srila Prabhupada gave us that as our life work. And he learned Bengali and did the transliteration. I did the transcriptions. I transcribed tapes every day or every other day whenever he made them that he would make in the early morning hours. And hearing the sound of his voice and his ecstasies, his personal realizations, nothing can replace that. It was very wonderful. And his writer's voice and his books is so precious, so special. And those of us who were there in the early days were really fortunate to have that experience. So we were with him. We met him in 67 in San Francisco, in January of 1967, right after he arrived there. In fact, our first service, Gaurasundar and I, we put up posters for the mantra rock dance that was going to take place. And that was a long time ago. Then we were sent to Hawaii in 1969 to open temples there. Oh, by the way, I lost an eye in an accident, so it is what it is. I'm 80 years old, so, if something works at 80 years old, we really consider ourselves lucky. Some people don't even make it to 80 years old. So we met him in 1967 in San Francisco, and then we traveled with him from 1967. When he came back from India, he was to India for several months in order to get well from his heart attack. And he returned in December of 1967, and we traveled with him from that time on until early 69. We were his servants and secretary. In those days it was a little different. I did all the typing and the cooking and the transcribing, and Gaurasundar did the transliteration and the massages, and there weren't as many letters then. In the beginning it was not as difficult, but then as Srila Prabhupada became more and more well known, there were a lot of letters, a lot of visitors. It was a very different world later on. Anyway, I've written 2 books about the early days. One of them is translated into Spanish and into Brazilian, Portuguese. Anyway, the first one is called A Place of Sandalwood and Roses, and it is in Spanish and in Portuguese, in case you might like to know about those very sweet early times. And I'm working on another book right now. So the early days were really special. We were very poor, so we didn't have a lot of money for tapes. and we didn't even have a tape recorder, but I asked my mother to sell something that I owned in college, and she sent me $400, and I got a German Uher. It was the best of the line in the day. I mean, it was top of the line at that time. And I used to record Srila Prabhupada singing every day. He would call me in his room and say, "Can you set up the tape recorder?" I'd set up it was a big, heavy tape recorder with big reels, 5 or 7 inch reels. And he would sing with a harmonium and just sing his heart out. And then he would record the meaning of those bhajans that he was singing. And they were so beautiful. Sometimes he would be in such ecstasy that tears would be coming down his cheeks, especially when he would sing Hari Hari Bifale. That was his favorite song. And then he would dub the drum over it, because those big tape recorders, you could do that sort of thing. You couldn't do that with a cassette. But cassettes weren't invented yet, that we knew about anyway. Anyway, so that's what we did. And at the time I was recording these, I had no idea that people all over the world would someday be listening to these beautiful bhajans sung by Srila Prabhupada. Truly, we in the early days had no idea I knew that his mission was important, but I didn't really understand. I recorded them for me because I liked it. I didn't know the whole world would like it. I had no idea at that time. Anyway, so this is the very early days, 1968. And then, of course, after we went to Hawaii in 1969, Srila Prabhupada came to Hawaii and lived with us for a month when we were first there. And we had a lot of adventures there. That's book 3. I'm working on that now. And he was, wherever he touched, wherever he walked, wherever he went, it was almost like magic. Just like if somebody walked along and mushrooms popped up along the path, only devotees popped up along the path, which are much better than mushrooms, beautiful devotees. And that's really what happened. And then he sent out a few emissaries, like Gorsindar, to go to South America. Darn, I would sneeze. Now that really messes it up, doesn't it? Anyway, I don't know how much time I have. I guess I have to sneeze twice just to make sure that I don't have enough time to speak. But I just want to thank you very much for all the service that you're doing in Argentina and all over South America. I traveled in Brazil last year, and I went to many places there: Sao Paulo, Belém, Rio, and some other places that I can't remember the names of, and I can't pronounce them anyway. And the devotees were really wonderful, really wonderful. And I just want you to focus on making sure that Srila Prabhupada stays in the center of your life, of your mission, because he's very available. You see the beautiful picture of him on my wall? This picture was a dream that I had after he left this world. And in this picture, I don't know if you can see it very well, but he's sitting on a Vyasasana, and the Vyasasana is sitting on the curvature of the Earth planet over India. And there are thousands of people of every nationality, every race, every color, every religion, pointing to him, reaching toward him. And the demigods are dropping flowers. And at the base of his Vyasasana, in jewels, is the word ISKCON, because ISKCON is actually Srila Prabhupada's vehicle. Just like Ganesh rides a rat, Lord Shiva rides a bull, And of course Lord Vishnu has Garuda, my favorite. But Srila Prabhupada is here. He's available. He is the Senapati Bhakta, the commander-in-chief sent by Lord Chaitanya. The commander-in-chief that Lord Chaitanya said, even if they flee to foreign countries, I will send my Senapati Bhakta, my commander-in-chief of my Sankirtan army, to get them. That's who Srila Prabhupada is. Because no Acharya has done what he's done. No one has come out of India and opened up the whole world to the holy names. He's definitely our very special Acharya, very special personality. And I urge you all to read the memoirs about him, as well as to read his original writings, his original books, because there's so much nectar there. Actually, for those of you who didn't ever meet Srila Prabhupada, you can actually know him by reading about him and by hearing his voice, hearing his singing, hearing his lectures. I mean, he may not speak English, so you can hear his bhajans. And also, there's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4:20-25, that describes the voice of the pure devotee as being sprinkled with the saffron dust from the lotus feet of the Lord, so that although it may sound like a material sound vibration, it isn't. It's actually awakens the soul. Because you have to remember, we didn't have any books when I came. There was only the 3 books from India that he brought with him. We didn't have any other books, but we had the sound of his voice. So I urge you to listen to the sound of his kirtans, listen to his lectures if you can, and read his original books because they have more of his voice, his writer's voice, and also read memoirs about him. The best memoirs, the ones I like the best, are from the London devotees, like Shamsundar, Yamuna, Mukunda, Gurudas, because they went through such trials to open up England, and actually they opened up the whole world to the holy names. You must know that, with George Harrison. The whole world began singing Hare Krishna after that. So thank you very much. I've taken way too much time. I think your deities are beautiful, and Srila Prabhupada wanted Gour Nitai deities in every home and every temple, because in this age of Kali, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are our only hope. So thank you very much for your wonderful service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.